Hey, I'm Jusko from ProbableMoney.com. In this video, we are going to answer the question, are travel credit cards worth it? Now, we've done videos on this channel before where we talk about travel credit cards versus cash back credit cards, but I'm going to take it from a little different angle in this video and try to answer that question, are travel credit cards worth it? Because oftentimes I see people on credit card forums basically saying, I don't get travel credit cards. Why do people think they're so great? It feels like you have to pay annual fees and your points really don't go very far when you go to redeem them. And I just don't see what the value is in the travel credit cards when I can have a no annual fee cashback card and I can get 2% or more back on my purchases. What am I missing? And that is valid. The value of cashback credit cards is pretty easy to understand on the surface, especially when they have no annual fee. Get yourself 1 to 3 cashback credit cards with no annual fee. You can get an average rebate between cards of probably 2 to 3% on all of the purchases that you make, where travel credit cards are going to be more complicated to understand, and some of the value that comes from travel credit cards is going to be a little more wishy-washy in terms of you understanding exactly what you are getting back. So if you're thinking about travel credit cards versus 2 to 3% in rebates from cash back credit cards, well, then you have to be doing better than that in your head in terms of the rewards and perks that you're going to get from those travel credit cards. So what I'm going to do in this video is give you a list of questions you would potentially ask yourself if you're interested in travel credit cards. And the more of these questions that you say yes to, the more likely it is that a travel credit card is going to be right for you. Some of these are going to be very tangible questions in terms of the rewards you get. Some of them are going to be about intangibles, perks that you are going to get that are hard to put an exact dollar value on. So here are the questions, and we will go through each one of these in more detail. But here's sort of the list. The more of these you can say yes to, the more travel credit cards are going to appeal to you. First question, maybe most important. Do you spend a lot on your credit cards each month? Second question, do you travel a lot already? Third question, are you already earning a good number of points or miles through certain airlines or hotels? Next, do you want to hunt? Do you enjoy hunting for travel deals? And do you have travel flexibility? That's sort of two questions, but they go together. Next, do you travel alone often versus with somebody else? Next question, do you value business class and first class highly versus sitting in coach or economy? And then, do you value certain perks, things like airport lounges, early boarding on airplanes, etc.? And then finally, do you prefer to get something fun from your credit card rewards? So let's take those questions one by one. First off, do you spend a lot on your credit cards each month? Travel credit cards, at least the good ones, are going to have some sort of annual fee. It may be as low as $95 per year, or it could be higher depending on the cards that you're looking for. In order for those cards to be worth it with those annual fees, you are going to need to spend a decent amount on the card in order to earn rewards, earn potential bonuses as a new card holder. So at the minimum, I would say you should have to be spending at least $1,000 per month on your credit card in order to feel like you're going to get value out of a travel credit card. The higher you are above $1,000, the more it is going to feel like you are earning enough to make up for the annual fee that you'll pay. Number two is, do you travel often right now? Not do you want to travel, but do you travel often currently? And this is going to matter for a couple reasons. Number one, you might already be earning miles or points from certain frequent flyer or hotel rewards programs that you will be able to add on to with a travel credit card. And then there are things like status with airlines or hotels, and then things like early boarding, free checked bags, airport lounges, all of those things. Those are going to have more value to you if you travel on a frequent basis. If you only travel very occasionally, well, then you're not going to care that much about those perks, and you're not going to want to be paying annual fees in order to get some of those that are on travel credit cards. How often is frequent travel? Well, if you're traveling once per month, I definitely would say that's frequent travel. Once per quarter is probably more of the sort of dividing line, I would say, where travel credit cards start to make more sense. If you're traveling once a year, some of these extra perks might feel good on that one time that you travel, but they aren't necessarily going to be worth paying for with a travel credit card. Number 3 is going to build on number 2, and there's going to be some overlap between these going forward as well. And this is, are you already earning a good number of miles or points with a frequent flyer program or a hotel rewards program? Because a credit card cannot only augment the number of points or miles you're earning, but it can also help you get to status faster with an airline program or with the hotel. The cards themselves oftentimes are not going to really get you status on their own, although they might get you some low-level status. But for people that are already earning miles or points, the card on top of that can get you to those higher tiers of status that you might value. Number 4, sort of a two-part question. Are you willing to look for travel deals, and do you have travel flexibility? One of the frustrations that people have sometimes when they get travel credit cards is they find out that for the destinations they want and the times they want, in order to use those points, they might be getting a penny per point on their flights or hotels or whatever, which is really no better than they could have gotten from a no annual fee cashback credit card that was a lot easier to deal with. So really the value that you're going to get from travel credit cards is if you can take those points and miles and find situations where you're going to get outsized value on the points that you have. And so that oftentimes is going to mean that you are going to have to be looking for situations that aren't just for everyone. That could mean that you need flexibility in timing in terms of what dates you can leave and what date you can come back. Sometimes it means flexibility in terms of times of year. If you're willing to go off season, you might get better deals than you would get in the middle of summer. It might mean flexibility in terms of where you're willing to go. If you are saying, I want to go to Italy on these particular dates, well, that might be hard for you to find a real deal. If you say, I want to go to Italy, or I want to go to Copenhagen, or I want to go to Prague, or I want to go to Australia, and you have a whole cloud of places that you potentially would go if you could find a good deal where your points are going to go far, well then obviously you have better potential for you to actually find those deals. So if you are restricted by time because of a job, because of family, because of whatever, you might find a travel credit card harder to get really good value out of, where if you have a lot of flexibility, then you can more easily find those deals. Number 5, I think we're on number 5, is going to correlate sort of with number 4, and that is, do you often travel alone? If you do travel alone, then oftentimes you can find better deals and get more value out of your points and your perks than if you are with someone else. It might be that there's only one seat left on the airplane, and so maybe you can get a better deal with the number of points or miles you have in order to get that seat. If you want to be able to get into airport lounges, things like the American Express Platinum, going to get you in for free. But if you have someone with you, unless you're a very big spender, you're going to have to spend extra to get that person into the lounge. So some of the value and the perks are going to be better for an individual than they are going to be if you are traveling with more than one person. Number 6, do you highly value traveling first class or business class versus being in economy when you travel? One of the biggest disconnects oftentimes between the sticker price of an airplane seat and the number of points it's going to take for you to get into that seat is going to be in first class or business class, especially on international trips. So say you wanted to fly somewhere and first class is going to cost you $5,000 if you paid cash. Well, you might never pay $5,000, but if you found out 125,000 points or miles was going to get you into that seat, well then you might be willing to do it, and you might feel really good about getting 4 cents per point or mile in terms of value when you used it in first class. Now you may have been able to get another seat on that same plane back in coach, and that might have only cost you 75,000 miles for a ticket that would have been $1,000. That's obviously not as good in terms of what you get per point, although you didn't have to spend as many points to get it. So if you really love the experience of being in first class or business class, and you are willing again to maybe spend a little bit more in terms of the points you have, well then that is something where people sort of aspire to have that experience, and that is where travel credit cards can get you there. Number 7 is, what value do you put on the extra perks that you can often get with travel credit cards? And oftentimes these are perks that don't have a standard price tag that you can attach a value to. So I'm thinking about things like airport lounge access, TSA pre-check or global entry credits, travel insurances that you can get on many cards, things like early boarding on the airplane, your first bag checked free, status with the airline or with the hotel. Some of these do have a price tag that you know what it is. Many times it is your idea of what the value of those is. So if you find value in these extras, well, travel credit cards are going to be more appealing. If you think these are nice to haves, but you don't care very much about them, well, then you're not going to find travel credit cards as appealing. And then finally, number 7, do you prefer to do something fun with your credit card rewards? For some people, the points or miles that they earn on a travel credit card is something they think of as sort of separate than a simple rebate on the purchases they made. It is sort of like found money. There are points or miles accumulating over here, and eventually in the future, I'm going to use them for some sort of fun vacation that I'm going to go on, and I won't have had to spend any extra money. It's just like these miles showed up out of nowhere. So you're sort of doing a psychological trick on yourself a little bit, because somebody else who is getting cash back on their cards might say, well, if I'm getting 2 to 3% as a rebate, I'm getting the same amount of money or maybe more than you're getting on those miles, and I'm just using it to pay off my bills and then I can buy anything I want. Well, that's a different psychology. If you like the idea of using your rewards for something fun, even if logic tells you that you're not necessarily getting more than you would have from a cashback card, well, then you're going to like travel cards more than cashback cards. And the one final point that doesn't really fit in my list is the fact that with travel credit cards, you can oftentimes get much bigger upfront bonuses when you get the card than you could from a no annual fee cashback card. So oftentimes you can get yourself a 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, even 100,000 point or 100,000 mile bonus, which could get you a vacation right off the bat when you get a credit card. So if you're someone looking to go somewhere interesting for your honeymoon or your anniversary or your birthday, or whatever, sometimes that travel credit card is going to feel really good when you get it because you can get something right off the bat, where with a cashback credit card, it's going to take a while. They might have some bonuses, but it's going to be a couple $100 at most usually, where you might get yourself $800 to $1,000 worth of travel from a travel credit card. So that's also something to consider. Even with the annual fee, the amount you can get in a bonus oftentimes is going to be so much more that the annual fee is going to be worth paying. So if you are one of those people that has said, I don't get travel credit cards, why would I do this when there's more value in cashback credit cards? Well, then maybe with all of these questions and answers I have given, you now understand where the potential value is with travel credit cards. They still might not be for you, but at least maybe you can understand why other people have a different mindset about them. Would love to hear your thoughts about it in that comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching. And as always, please go to proudmoney.com, where we do credit card reviews. We talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. If you are not going to leave a comment or go to the website, watch this video next.